Hey crew, it's Pitt and I am back with some more Esoterica. We didn't get blown away in the hurricane last night, so that means I get to read for you again today. We are back into the works of Mr. Manly Hall. This is the Secret Teachings of All Ages. We are up to the Hermetic and Alchemical figures of Claudius Domenico Celanto Vallis Novi from a manuscript written and illuminated in Naples, AD 1606. We are reading aloud from the text, and we will be discussing as we go along the various topics that are brought to light by the text. But before we begin, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in terminology or theology, there are several playlists that are linked up here in the box down below, along with the original source material, so that you can go back and understand who I am and where I am coming from. I believe I have outlined that pretty extensively. With that being said, we are going to dive into the text and begin our discussion of the Hermetic and Alchemical figures of Claudius Domenico Celentano Vallis Novi from a manuscript written and illuminated at Naples in 1606. No better way can be found of introducing the royal art, a seeker after the mysteries of symbolical philosophy, than to place at his disposal an actual example of alchemical writing. The text of this manuscript is as enigmatic as are its diagrams, but to him who will meditate upon the profound significance of both, the deeper issues of mysticism in due time will be made clear. An unknown person, through whose hands his manuscript has passed, wrote thus of it. Because of its drawings and illustrated expositions, the manuscript is of preeminent importance to the Rosicrucians and the contemporary order of the Freemasons. The first and larger part of the illustrations deal with the Hermetic philosophy, explaining its teachings and doctrines. Interspersed among these are portraits of great teachers and satirical representations of bunglers and their mistaken views. The systemically arranged part shows with wonderful clearness the color development of the alchemical processes from blue gold over black to white and rose. Throughout, it treats of the change in human beings and not of the making of gold. Ever upon the grade of black, the return into chaos from which new creations are possible, follows the grade of the neophytes, the new birth, which is often repeated with impressive lucidity. The black stage occurs as usual through fire. This unopened and unpublished manuscript belongs to the order of the most important precepts and documents of the Rosicrucians and Freemasons. A search through the museums and library collections of Germany has failed to reveal any item of even a similar character. In addition to the 26 leaves here reproduced, there are 10 bottles or retorts, each half filled with varicolored substances. These bottles can be so easily described that it is unnecessary to reproduce them. The first bottle, from the mouth of which issues a golden shrub with 3 blossoms, contains a bluish-gray liquid, the entire figure being called our quicksilver. Under the vessel is a verse containing the significant words, "He will have white garments for black, and then red." The second bottle, from the neck of which rise 4 golden flowers, also contains the bluish-gray substance termed quicksilver. Below the bottle is the admonition to make spirit of the body and grace of the gross, that the corporeal may become incorporeal. The third bottle is entirely black, save for a golden tree trunk having 6 lopped-off branches and terminating in 5 branches, which end in knobs and protrude from the neck of the bottle. The state of the substance is termed blackness, showing through the head of the raven. Under the bottle occurs the statement that the tincture of the philosophers is hidden in the air like the soul in the human body. The fourth bottle is of the deepest blackness and is called the head of the raven. Nothing rises from the neck of the vessel, for the earth, its contents, is described as submerged in chaos. The bottom of the fifth bottle contains a bluish-gray, spotted liquid, the upper part being filled with a brick-colored substance. Above are the words, 6th raven's head. Below is added, at the bottom of the vessel, worms are born. The lower half of the sixth bottle is of a bluish gray, the upper half black, the entire figure being termed Seventh Raven's Head. A child is seated beside the bottle, concerning whom it is written, "This newly born black son is called Elixir, and will be made perfectly white." The seventh bottle is black below and black spotted with red above. The process is thus described. Black, blacker than black, for many diverse colors will appear. Those black clouds will descend to the body whence they came, and the junction of the body, soul, and spirit has been completed and turned to ashes. The eighth bottle is divided horizontally by a golden band, from which rises a golden stem, ending in 5 leaves protruding from the neck of the bottle. The contents of the vessel are transparent, and it is written that the black clouds are past, and the great whiteness has been completed. The ninth bottle, from the neck of which rises a golden white rose, is also partly filled with transparent liquid. The rose is made to say, "He who blanches me makes me red." The 10th and last bottle represents the consummation of the great work. The lower half of the vessel is filled with the blood-red elixir, and from the neck rises a red rose with many petals of extreme beauty. After declaring all the planets have been present at the consummation of the great work, the author of the document concludes, "I gave to the Master Spirit so much silver and gold that he can never be poor. In his dedication, the author and illustrator of the manuscript declares that he has set forth all the operations of the great work. He prays to the Holy Spirit that he may be included in the number of those who have pursued this most noble of sciences, and that he may be set always in the path of righteousness. Exclusive of his own researches, the main sources of his information are said to be the writings of St. Thomas Aquinas, Raymond Lully, and Arnold of Villanova. To protect themselves from the persecution of despotic theology, the medieval alchemists couched their philosophy in Christian terminology. I call that self-insertion. Although the greatest secrets of the art were derived largely from Egyptian or Arabian adepts, the Mohammedans were masters of their hermetic secrets, and even the great Paracelsus secured from them the major part of his knowledge. In their manifestos, the Rosicrucians also disclosed the Arabian source of their secret doctrine. Hence, it should be borne in mind that the relating of the alchemical teachings to biblical symbolism was a gesture of expediency. Yes, in their search of the scriptures for the arcana of Israel, the Kabbalists substantiated in great measure the alchemical interpretations of the Bible. I do not have proof of that. For the soul of alchemy is one with that of Kabbalism. Both schools have a common end, being concerned with the mysteries of human regeneration, despite apparent discrepancies in their symbolism. The publication of this manuscript places at the student's disposal the profound secrets of the Hermetic art. At first, the task of decipherment may seem hopeless, and superficially minded will be tempted to scoff at the possibility of real knowledge being perpetuated in such unconventional fashion. The scoffer will not realize that one of the purposes of the document is to awaken ridicule, and thus preserve more effectually its arcana from the profane. A few sheets, such as those here reproduced, represent the life work of one who has consecrated himself to the task of tearing aside the veil of the world virgin. Years of research and experimentation, days of incessant labor, nights of prayer and meditation, and at last comes the realization of accomplishment. This is the real story told by the grotesque figures drawn so painstakingly upon the faded, worm-eaten pages. Those who have glimpsed the greater realities of being realize that the fundamental verities of life find at best only imperfect expression through physical symbols. Only those who have passed through the travail of spiritual birth can adequately comprehend and properly reverence the pathetic efforts to portray for others
that knowledge necessarily locked within the heart of one who knows. All right, so this is leaf 1. Here we have two figures. I cannot make out the writing, but I do believe they tell us this is the vessel, I'm assuming. Leaf 1. The top line reads, "Our earliest medicine was made of natural objects." Yes. About the king and queen appears the statement that to them a son shall be born in 2 trees of the vine, resembling his father and without equal in all the world. About the vase is written, green and white. The vase, flame color, the flowers, green. Our water, our silver. The lines below read, "The material of the philosopher's stone is that thick, viscous water which either heat or cold congeals. It is mercury, boiled down and thickened, cooked in neutral earth with sulfurous heat, and is called the prime material of the metals. In caverns yet dark and forbidden mountains, if a stone be found, which 1,000 years ago nature made out of her fruits, it will bring him that has it out of trouble. Listen carefully to all my verses. I speak them without veil and without deception." Leaf 2. And the source material is linked in the box down below so that you can go back
and peruse these at your leisure. I'm going to have to talk higher. I'm grateful for every minute that I get to speak in my natural voice. It is getting stronger every day, but I don't have enough faith in it to continue, so it is what it is. Leaf 2. At the top of the quotation from St. Thomas Aquinas concerning the composition of the philosopher's stone, which is described as of the purest transparency. In it, all the forms of the elements and their contrarieties were visible. Beneath the figure of St. Thomas Aquinas is a short paragraph praising the excellence of the philosophic stone, declaring that from the one substance can be derived 3, and from 3, 2. To the right of St. Thomas Aquinas is a likeness of Raymond Lully, seated in the door of his hermitage. Under his feet appears a quotation from this celebrated alchemist, beginning with the question, "What is the philosopher's stone?" After declaring it to be a reddish, fixed mercury, Lully swears to the Almighty that he has told the truth and that it is not permissible to say more. The original manuscript is mutilated at this point. Leaf 3 is a man being eaten by a snake. There's a vase down here, half tilted. Leaf 3, the writing at the top of the page reads, "Death of Saturn, life of Mercury." After describing the use of the Saturnine substances, the key to the process is declared to be depicted below. The verse reads, "This, the stone, is made of 4 elements. This is the truth in all nature. Take it in hand, bright and shining, with all diligence and great care, and then try to bind all securely together side by side, so the fire may cause alarm." Above the human figure is written, "Saturn is almost dead." To the right of the devouring serpent is a statement of Albert Magnus that Saturn and Mercury are the first principles of the stone. It also declares that nature wisely provided a mixture of elements so that earth can communicate its dryness to fire, fire its heat to air, air its moisture to water, and water its coldness to earth. Text about the vase is illegible in the original. We are going to enlarge this briefly so that you can see it, but go back and check it out for yourself. YouTube will not like this particular image. Leaf 4 at the top. Let them believe that everything is possible. The art is fleeting, bright and rare, and not believed by the foolish. The words between the sun and crescent read, "It is hidden," and on the panel across the body, "The book of life and true treasury of the world." The panel to the left of the figure says, "Moving, almost all, and the soul of its body returns to the place from which it had fled, and ripens 7 months or 9. and the king, crowned with his diadem, appears. The right panel states there are 3 Mercuries: animal, vegetable, and mineral. The text below is of such a cryptic nature that to translate it is well nigh impossible. It declares that by putting fire beneath the feet of this symbolic figure, it is possible to extract therefrom the sun and the moon, which the human body is shown elevating to a position of dignity above its head. Now, if this is an allegory of spiritual ascension, this is letting you know that there are 2 sources of energy. Like we talk about that often, even though they don't talk about that often. There is a grounding, nurturing, feminine source at the bottom that is receptive of energies. And then there is a destructive, masculine, impregnating, penetrating energy from the top. These are, we talked about them several times, and that's probably what we're talking about here. Right? Putting fire beneath the feet, and you can separate the sun and the moon, which is the light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine. The 3 is the trinity of us, right? Animal, vegetable, and mineral. Now, I don't do those. We do the body, we do the soul, and we do the becoming. And that is good for every single thing. It doesn't matter if it's an animal, they have the body, the mind, and the soul, just like we do. Next up, this is leaf 5, and this shows a phoenix and a dragon fighting. That's an interesting one. Leaf 5. In the upper panel, it is declared that the sunbird, or phoenix, battles with the earth serpent, or dragon, who, tearing out his own entrails, gives them to the bird. The spirit is vivified, and Lazarus, with joy, is raised from the dead. Above the bird is written, "This is the sun in the form of a bird," and above the dragon is, "This is the dragon devouring the bird." That is not what was just described. The first operation, right? Like it just said that the dragon gave the bird his entrails, and then it says that the dragon is devouring the bird. The panel of the text at the lower left reads in substance, "When our sperm, quicksilver, is mixed with the mother of elements, earth, the action is called coitus. The detention by the earth of a bit of quicksilver is called conception. The earth grows and multiplies, and the operation is called impregnation. When earth is whitened with water and made of the uniform color and appearance, it is called birth, and the king is born out of fire." The text at lower right was deliberately mutilated to conceal a too evident secret. Really. The text at the lower right was deliberately mutilated, huh? This here. You can't make it out here, but I wonder what that says. 6. And again, we have another one that is not going to be YouTube friendly. We do have what appears to be 2 paths, sun and moon, being unified in man, standing above the fires surrounded by the fruit of the earth. Leaf 6. This plate shows all the secrets of the great stone. In the center stands the Paschal Virgin. In her hair the prime virtue, which is described as an herb flourishing in wells. The hands hold the symbol of the spiritual and material elements. The statement at the upper left is to the effect that there are 4 spirits with 2 faces, which are called the elements. At the upper right it is written that fire lives on air, air on water, water on earth, and thus the stone lives peacefully on all the pure elements. Under the sun appears the word summer, under the moon, autumn. About the tree on the left with its attendant eyes are the words, "Turn away your eyes from the fire." There is space about the tree to the right. Open your eyes to the fire. There is time. The lower panel opens with this sentence, "I am exalted above the circles of the world." Leaf 7. This appears to have to do with practicality. The verse at the top reads, "This stone is so noble and worthy that nature has hidden it in her recesses. Its soul is all fair and pure, for it is the true sun. I inform you of this. Keep it removed, apart and separated. Whatever boon you crave, it will come to you bounteously, without sin, with pleasure and delight. The seated figure on the left, holding aloft the hammer, is described as breaking hard stone, while the words beside the man with the retort read, breaking of stone or replenishment. Between the standing figures below is the exclamation, O sages, seek and ye shall find my stone. Under the outstretched hand of man with a basket appear the words, draw out, sororem, in the bottom. Below the pool, which the man on the left is stirring, appears the simple statement, or healing water. The faces of the four men are extremely well drawn. And another one we're not going to be able to show for long. We have a satyr and a cherubim. We have a human with a phoenix head, various phases of the sun and moon, and I don't know what that is. Leaf 8. Under the sun, moon, and Mercury are the words 3 and 1, an inference that the three are one. The words under this flower stem reads, whiteness, 40 days after ashes. Under the blossom is written, left, minor time of stone, right, the selected red. Between the arms of the central figure appears, let 1 pound of mercury be placed. To the left is written, if you who read shall have known this figure, you will possess the whole science of the stone. To the right, and if you do not acknowledge it, you will be stiff-necked and dull. And the sun, above the sun is the word Father, above the satyr, ferment of the work. Beside the child is the sentence, the son of the moon, who threw the stone into the fire, his mother. Above the flaming basket is written, I am the true stone. Under the central figure are the words, a moderate fire is the master of the work. Here we have somebody holding a fruiting branch. This probably ties back to wands. Leaf 9. In the upper left it is written that without the light of the moon, the sun does not heat the earth, and that into the moon the sun emits its fruits. In the upper right, the true herb of the philosophers is described. It is declared that whoever believes in, and it shall be, who believes in and it, shall be spiritually rich. The panel concludes thus, understand thoroughly what it is that the man has in either hand if you wish to be enlightened. The text to the left above the sun reads, entirely without the sun and moon make die, dissolve, congeal, and like produces for itself like. The words to the right of the man holding the philosopher's herb declare sublimation to the beginning, the middle, and the end of the great work. The last sentence reads, out of the sun and moon make a thing of equal parts, and by their union, God willing, let the philosopher's stone be made. Okay, now this, again, I don't hold the key to alchemy, but I do hold a key to enlightenment, and this is outlining somewhat the path, right? This is the assimilation of the light and dark. This is the mixing of the divine chakra. Now, you don't have to believe in these things, right? I do, and so I talk about them because this is my page. I do believe that there is a process by which enlightenment happens. I know that because I've been on it. I have not seen in many places what I am seeing here, which is the assimilation of the light and the dark. Now, that is intimated in many places, but not in the way that this in particular is. This is telling you to balance them, right? Entirely without the sun and moon, make the die, dissolve, or whatever, but out of the sun and moon, make a thing of equal parts, and by their union, God willing, let the philosopher's stone be made. Now, I don't know about a stone, whatever, but if they are talking, in this instance, about the philosopher's stone being the divine aura, which we talk about quite regularly, I can believe that, right? If we make the assumption that the philosopher's stone is the divine aura, people call it the Merkaba. There's various terms for it, but that's the most popular one. I say divine aura or divine chakra because you have access to it the same way that you have access to the 7 internal ones, and the balancing of the 7 within gives you access to the 1 without. Now that is the 1 into 3 out of 8, right? And so the outward one, the Merkaba, or the divine aura, or divine chakra, as I like to call it, is not black and it's not white. It is not light, it is not dark. It is the perfect balance of the two. It is not gray, but it is the blending of black and white in perfect proportion. It is the accepting of the dark side of you and the striving for the light side of you. It is taking the feminine grounding energy and mingling it with the penetrative creative energy. That is how I see ascension. That is how I see enlightenment. That is how I have experienced these things. And so when I see this and it fits my key, I'm going to point it out. It could be a different key. It could, but to me, that screams what I know. And so maybe. Leaf 10. Here we have somebody holding the roots, right, encompassed by the circle. We have a cross, right, the insertion there. And then we have the fruition here above the gigantic man, because these are definitely not to the same scale. We have the fire right here, and it looks like he's sitting on smoke. The two short lines of text at the upper left read, "Some take a recent stone." The lines to the right of the symbol of Mars, iron, admonish the student to control his appetites and apply his mind to the accumulation of knowledge. No satisfactory translation can be found for the words under the outstretched arm of the man holding the upper part of the tree. The lower panel reads thus: "After the stone has been well refined, it will appear to penetrate thoroughly. It should be put into its vessel with its water. Close it well with a little fire and await the wonders of nature." The large red oval filling the lower half of the leaf is evidently the egg or vessel of the sages. The tree is a symbol of the growth of the sacred metals, for the alchemists affirm that the metals are like plants and grow in the rocks, spreading their branches, veins, through the interstices. It's leaf 11. This is an interesting one. What is going on here? That is interesting. That is a salamander coming out of the fire, but these, I don't know what's being represented here. Are they collecting water? Are they pouring water into the fountain? Like, what's going on here? Leaf 11. The fount is described as that from which the two mercuries of the philosopher are extracted. At the upper left is described the white mercury, and at the right, the red mercury. The text about the fountain declares that Saturn collects the white mercury, which is called the water of earth, and the earth collects the red mercury, which is called the water of heaven. The text to the left of the frog reads, "Through him who created the heavens and the earth, I am the philosopher's stone, and in my body I carry something the wise seek. And if such a charm be extracted from me, it will be a sweet refreshment for you. I am an animal, having father and mother were created. And in my body are contained the four elements, and I am before father and mother, and I am a poisonous animal." The lines at the right describe distilling and calcining processes. That's interesting, right? And so again, we have about the balance, right? The collecting the waters of the earth and the waters of heaven is about the balance. I am seeing my key in here. That could be self-insertion. I am fully transparent with that, right? But it seems to fit, and so I'm going to assume it. I am the philosopher's stone leads directly into what I was just talking about with the Merkaba. In my body, I carry something the wise seek. That is another thing. And if such a charm be extracted from me, it will be a sweet refreshment for you. That is something. Leaf 12. This is nature, is what that says. I just read it. All right, we have the fleur-de-lis replacing the phoenix head, and an ass off to the side with 3 frogs. So if the other one was a frog, I'm assuming that that's going to be frogs too. The 3 words at the top reads, This is nature. The lines above the donkey reads, "This is the philosopher's donkey, who wished to rise to the practice of the philosopher's stone." The 3 lines below the animal are translated, "Frogs gather in multitudes, but science consists of clear water made from the sun and moon." The text under the symbolic bird is as follows: "This is fortune with 2 wings. Whoever has it knows that fruit will in such a way be produced." A great philosopher has shown that the stone is a certain white sun, to see which needs a telescope. To dissolve it in water requires the sun and moon. And here one must open 200 telescopes, putting body and soul in one mass. And here is lost the mass. Other sages cook the frogs and add nothing. If the juice of the wise you wish to enjoy. To the Greeks, the frog symbolized both metempsychosis and earthly humidity. And here we have cooking something. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Let's read about it. Leaf 13. This page contains but 2 figures. To the left stands Morianus, the philosopher, pointing towards the salamander who lives and grows in fire. Morianus, who was born in the 12th century, became the disciple of the great Arabian alchemist Adfar, from whom he learned the hermetic arts. Morianus prepared the philosophical elixir for the Sultan of Egypt, inscribing upon the vase in which he placed the precious substance the words, "He who possesses all has no need of others." He spent many years as a hermit near Jerusalem. The lines below the salamander are, "Let the fire be of a perfect red color, the earth white, the water clear. Then compound them by philosophical means, and calcine them as many times with the water which the body has as to turn it white by its kindness. Having done this, you will have the greatest treasure in the world." This is leaf 14. He has a hoe. There are a couple of chickens and somebody with a wand. Leaf 14. The 3 words at the top of the left page are translated. The man that digs. Above the birds it is declared that none but the cocks of Hermes, the 2 Mercuries, shall put hand to the plow, and only after irrigation will the earth bring forth her fruits. The seated man is Count Bernard of Treviso, who says, "Work the earth with Mercury." See chapter on Alchemy and its exponents. The 3 sentences to the Count's left read, "Go to the fire, and with Mercury, thy brother, await me for a month. Crumble the stone I gave thee, and I shall go to the fire. Thy death, my life. I shall not die, but living, tell of the works of this, my master." Bernard of Treviso, in his alchemical speculation, emphasized the necessity of meditation upon the philosophical writings of the great adepts rather than chemical experimentation. He ultimately discovered the stone. This is leaf 15. He is holding something aloft. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. The first sentence reads, "The fruit of plants, by virtue of the sun, are stone." The boy holding the dish is made to say, "Drink here, all ye that are athirst. Come unto me, run to the waters. Here, drink, without price, and drink your fill. Open your eyes, and see the wonders of the earth. They learn, my thirsty 20 and 4. Beneath the boy are the words, In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth, and divided the waters from the waters. Bless the waters which are above the heavens." The circle contains this statement: "The earth, without form and void, out of the stars come the rains." The lower left panel continues the alchemical process, ending with the admonition to renounce the misery of worldly existence. Above is a prayer to the Virgin Mary, which opens thus: "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord be with thee, blessed thou among women." Some of them self-insertion. And here we are riding upon a lion horse. He has a scythe. There is the sun, the moon, and Saturn, I'm assuming. There is two figures, one of which has the phoenix head. And they are on the ladder, which I am assuming is leading to heaven. Leaf 16. The first sentence reads, "The dead bodies remain. The spirits are freed by the death in the bodies. You will ride with that death with a scythe, and the light of the sun, the moon, and the fixed stars. Over the scythe is written, subject to the sun, the moon, and Azoth, complete the work. The four words and the curve of the scythe blade say, man's head, head of raven. The three lines to the right are interpreted thus. This figure is called Laton, for it looks black in a vessel, and is the beginning of corruption. The text below the ladder states, this is the ladder of primitive matter, which, when placed in a vessel, turns black. The gradual changes to white by the scale ladder of digestion, according to the degree of heat. Here, a ladder is used to signify the natural steps up, which matter must ascend before it can attain to a truly spiritual state. There are steps. Let's look at something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's only got 5 steps and what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 spaces. Leaf 17. Here he is holding a tool. I'm not quite sure what it is. There is some kind of a building with the sun over it, and a man approaching a vessel in another vessel. Leaf 17. The verse at the top of the page reads, not only must this material be fixed, but it must be allowed to enter into everything, so that this material may be well completed and have infinite virtue. Then by making it thick, it becomes all at once all white. Sublimation from white, it becomes shining. Above the sun are the words, God and nature do nothing in vain. The man on the left is a medieval conception of Hermes, the great Egyptian philosopher. The one on the right is Christopher, the philosopher of Paris. Above the latter is written, if the stone is black, it is not useless. The words over the retort are, there is air, fire, water, and earth. Below is added, a dissolution of the body is the first step. The curious alchemical apparatus must be considered purely symbolic in this work, and, as its author himself says, is intended to give only a hint of the art. Leaf 18. That is a strange-looking penis. There is a man standing with an open book over someone laying down with a tree growing out of his groin. It has 2 branches at the top and a vine winding its way up in reminiscence of the caduceus, and the sun and the moon are the 2 sides. Leaf 18. At the left, holding a book, stands Aristotle, who is described as the most learned of all the Greeks. The tree surmounted by the sun and moon is accompanied by the words, when the stone is dead, that is changed to water. In this it will produce flowers. Beneath Aristotle and the prostrate human figure, from which rises the flowering tree, are these statements. He who makes everything descend from heaven to earth, and then ascend from earth to heaven, has information about the stone. Okay, now this is a direct confirmation of my key. For in Mercury there is something the wise seek, not invoked except by white or red ferment. The first part of this quotation is based upon the emerald tablet of Hermes, which see. In ordinary man, the spirit is figuratively absorbed by the body, but in the true philosopher, the spirit is so greatly increased in power that it absorbs into itself and is nourished by man's corporeal body. And this is a key for me, like absolutely a confirmation of my key. Now, that can be confirmation bias. I am looking for the things that will confirm the things I already believe. And so I know that and I hold that in my head. But still, right? He who makes everything descend from heaven to earth and then ascend from earth to heaven has information about the stone. That is absolutely reinforcing to me that the stone talked about here is the divine aura. You do not have access to it until you do this. And anybody that's doing it prior to this assimilation process is going to wind up hurt. And that's no other way to say that. It is not even something that I am in charge of, right? The 8 laws of creation outline that very clearly. They are true whether you choose to believe them or not. The process is true whether you choose to believe it or not. It has been true, at least for me. And so I see exactly what I talk about here. Now, the white and red, the colors don't really matter, right? We talked about that before, and I'm sure we'll talk about that again. The visualization colors that we have, we use them because it is easy for us to remember them, right? I'm different. I'm different than other people. I have aphantasia, so when I am doing my clearing of my chakras, I don't have to use the colors in ways that other people do. Now, I do reference them, right? I do believe that they are in ascending order from base to crown, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. That they represent in those colors certain aspects of you. I do, and I believe that those things are very important in learning to assimilate into yourself the things of yourself in which you need to change to make the water from the stone. That's real. That's real to me. Now, the water can be the dimethyltryptamine that you can trigger within yourself once you can do this process. That is a thing, right? Everybody's out there chasing these chemicals, not understanding that it is entirely possible to do without any other chemicals being entering into you. You can indeed trigger the dimethyltryptamine, DMT, that your pineal gland makes through the things that I talk about here. It is a possibility, but once again, if you are going to do those things, you should be very much in accordance with the 8 laws of creation. And if you are not in accordance with the 8 laws of creation, it will come back and bite you in the butt. It ain't got nothing to do with me. It has to do with the laws. I'm here to warn you, but you are probably going to attempt to do the things anyway. That is human nature. Remember that I warned you on the other side of it. There is a process, I believe, by which you can release these things. It starts at the base. I have a whole system, the Infinite Integration Systems, where I talk about how I changed the MBTI. I redefined some things. I shuffled some things around. I made it work completely differently than any way that you have seen it before. So if you have been typed by anyone else, there's a really good chance that it's not correct in my system. My system is specifically designed about taking the parts of you that you don't particularly like and turning them into something useful for yourself. It is a 8-step process. I recommend that you take at least 8 weeks to do it, that you spend 1 whole week on each particular part. And you start at the base. You figure out what the base is for you, and then you start meditating on how you can assimilate that into yourself. It is a 7-step process. You go base, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown, divine. And when you get to the divine, that's when you're moving energy up and down and mixing it through the heart into the divine. And that is what appears to be referenced as the Philosopher's Stone, that 8th step after the intensive process. I say 8 weeks because that is probably the bare minimum that you can give it. It took me significantly longer than that. Don't think that you can just jump into this and it's going to work. If you are impatient, if you push it, if you do it the wrong way, if you do not follow the steps, if you are not intentional about it, if you are not motivated correctly, it will come back against you. Be careful. Take the time. If you are unsure, if you are clear in the area, you are not clear in the area. Spend some more time. It is vitally important that you do that. Do not burn yourself. All right, let's get back to the text. That jumped at me, right? That is definitely one of the keys, right? When the stone is dead, that has changed the water, and this will produce flowers. Yeah. All right, leaf 19. Here we have a man with a crown seated next to a tree on a rock, and underneath his feet is an elixir. Right? He has this moon over his head that signifies normally some kind of a spiritual power, and he appears to be holding a bagpipe in his arms. Leaf 19. At the top it reads, "He that comes to know this figure will have knowledge of the stone." The seated man probably represents Paracelsus. To the right are the words, "I am neither tree nor animal, nor stone nor vegetable, but the philosopher's stone, trampled on by men, cast into the fire by my Father, and in fire I rejoice." The 4 words to the left say, "In dryness is the stone." Below the man is the philosophic egg containing the words, "It is the end in which the beginning rests." The capital T stands for tincture. The text to the right states, "In stone it is formed." As Gerber writes in his book, very learnedly, and possessing so much of its nature that it changes into clear, living water, and it has the power to make folks rich, satisfied, and free from all cares, so they will be always happy if they attain by their wit to the secret. And here we have, I guess this is the mother on a pedestal. There is a man pointing at her here. We have the phoenix down here at the bottom. The phoenix and the eagle are interchangeable in almost all instances. We have someone in a nest or fire, I'm not sure. And this I'm not positive about either, but that really looks like the angle necessary to unlock the third eye. You have here on the outstretched arms of this figure, you have the sun on one hand, the moon on the other, and on the moon side you have a child. There is a child jumping out of the moon, and there is someone descending from the stars above through the crown. Leaf 20. At the top is written, "Rains are made by 6 stars." Under the inverted man it reads, "Receive new spirit, arise, for you are asleep." The 2 sentences about the large figure read, "Remember Mercury, for ashes thou art, and unto ashes thou shalt return. I thirst and am dead." Above the 7 globes, at the left, is the admonition, "If he thirst, give him a drink, and he shall live." Over the small man is written, Hermes, the father of philosophers. The curved line of writing to which Hermes points says, "The measure of the drink." Under the central pedestal appears, "The light of mine eyes is a lantern to my feet." Below is added, "If the beginning is unknown, the rest is unknown." Above the figure rising from the flames on the right is the statement, "He was resurrected after new moon, and under the eagle thou shalt not fly further with me." 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know how I missed that there were 7 right here. I just completely skipped that. That is important, right? The 7 lead into the stone. All right. Leaf 21. We have a monument with the sun and the moon. We have a hand holding a banner with words upon it, and we have the sun and some words there. Leaf 21. The upper line reads, "Two things and double, but finally one is dissolved into the first and they make sperm." The 4 capitals I, A, A, T are the initial letters of the names of the elements, Ignis, Air, Aqua, and Terra. The writing under them reads, "Our fire is water. If you can give fire to fire, fire and mercury will suffice." Along the arm appear the words, "The art of the stone is," and on the ribbon, "Swift, brief, bright, and rare." The 2 lines under the ribbon reads, "Every hand is a key, because it was called the herb celandine." Under the sun, "I am the gift of God." The verse reads, "So that you remain contented in all matters, I must listen attentively. My body is naked, clean, and shining. I run like oil ready to drop, resplendent like bright gold, and then succumb to the plague in his bright and cheerful little chamber." Retort. Leaf 22. We have the sun above, the moon, and an astrological symbol that I don't know the astrological symbol, so. And again, we have those same 4 letters on another vessel. And here it is again on another vessel with a cross on the top. And here we have these same letters And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different words underneath it. Let's see what it says. Leaf 22. The verse in the upper left is as follows. This group is composed of 3 stones, lunar, solar, and mercurial. In the lunar is white sulfur, in the solar red sulfur, and in the mercurial both, i.e. white and red. For almost all of this, if you replace red with black, it is what I am talking about, right? Their white and red may be my white and black. Who knows? I have aphantasia. And this is the strength of all instruction. In the bottle at the left are the words, dissolving, calcination, sublimation, complete the instruction. And at the base, wash, congeal, and coagulate. Under the central tower is written. Metallic salts, however, are hidden by 1 letter. Around the bottom of the red circle, dryness, coldness, humidity, heat, and dryness. On the points below are the names of the 4 elements. The initial IAAT appear 4 times with the same meaning that was already given. The 3 powers of the Philosopher's Stone are symbolized by the heads of the cherubs in the circle in the upper left corner. Now, if that is my key, right, we have 3 parts that lead into this, right? You have the 3 lower, you have the 3 upper, and you have the conjoining heart. You have base, solar plexus, and sacral are the bottom, the baser natures of humanity. You have the throat, the third eye, and the crown are the 3 upper parts of humanity, the more spiritual side, and they are melded together through the heart, which is the 3rd, and leads into the 8th. So that, to me, again, is a confirmation of my key. It can be me reading that into it, but it fits very well in that particular lock. Leaf 23. We have a castle. We have an angel pointing to a banner above the castle, and it appears that there is something fruitful coming from the castle. The writing at the upper left is, in substance, the Lord's Prayer, with the addition of the words Jesus and Mary at the end. That insertion. The inverted words in the banner read, Ye can do nothing without me, for God has so promised, saying, so be it. The text under the angel reads, By this plague he will be damned, who knows he is dead, all cold in a black body. And let this be thy first comfort. He will burn unto calcination. When I have reduced him within this door, know for certain that I shall be blessed if I know how to cultivate the garden. The main part of the leaf is devoted to an elaborate symbolic drawing of alchemical equipment, under which are the words, the furnace of the distillation, congealing, rectification, perfection, fixation, quintessence of the philosophers. By quintessence should be understood the 5th essence of the most wise. Leaf 24. We have a swan, maybe? I'm not sure that that's a phoenix, but there is holding. He is pointing to his heart, one hand extended out, and that is the left hand, which is the absorption hand. He is standing on a platform that has the sun and the moon, and then there is a dais here with the sun, the moon, and the astrological symbol. This appears to be a bed with a figure stretched out upon it. Leaf 24. The words at the top read, I, the bird, the adept, speak into thine ears from the sun, moon, and Azoth. The work is perfected with little labor. The panel to the left describes the nature of primordial matter and the drink of the philosophers. The text to the right reads, This is my beloved Son, whom I saw and loved. If he be resurrected, he will remain at home, and in that house the spirit will be the soul of the body. For Mercury may be called the son of the sun and the moon. Under the child's figure is added, If he were not dead, I should not have been his mother. I bore him after death before he was born in the world. Under my feet I have what was his, and out of me and my son, and the foundation of my feet, the philosopher's stone is made. At the lower left, the 3 constituents of the stone are shown, elevated upon a pedestal to signify their dignity. Leaf 25. We have a queen, 2 children above a furnace, and 2 sons at their feet, with a crown not on the head. Leaf 25. Above the figure of the queen are 3 lines stating, in substance, that in the beginning of the book it was written of her that from her maternal breasts she nourished the sun, and that he who was capable of converting her into primal matter possessed rare skill. Opposite the queen's head are the words, "In the highest mountains this water," and "I am the light of the philosophers." To the left of the queen is an admonition to strike the sons whom she bears. She calls herself the mother of the sun, the sister of the moon, and the servant and spouse of Mercury. On the right, she is made to exclaim, "I cannot be crowned unless these sons of mine become ashes." The sons are shown directly below. The verse under the queen continues the alchemical processes, describing the method in which the exudations from the substance should be preserved. Leaf 26. Now, this is an interesting one. What do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Interesting. Let's look at this through my lens, right? Here at the bottom, you have the base. This is the furnace. This is the source of the fire. We have a sacral, which is the generative. We have the solar plexus, which is the consumptive. We have the heart, which is the melting point. We have the third eye, or the throat. This is probably the throat over here, being the expressive part. The third eye right here being the seeing forward and illuminating part. That is actually a projector, which I have just recently got the keys to. And this is the crown. I do not know that there is a better representation that would be shrouded in mystery than what we have right here. Right? This is coming from below the stomach area and expressing out. Right? This is a retort. You have the crown, obviously. You have the third eye. Now, this is not so obvious if you have not actually awakened your third eye. But if you have, then this is absolutely. The heart is where things grow from. It is the point of manifestation. It is the melding of the upper and lower through this by which it is possible to access the divine and create things in your life. Now these, again, like all of these symbols, you have to be looking for my explanation to find my explanation, but I absolutely do see it here. Like the generative process, that doesn't look like a phallus either, does it? It doesn't really look like a vajayjay either, but regardless, that is what that is representing. It is the eternal generativeness. It is the Ouroboros, so to speak. And the consumptive being the griffin, right? It consumes itself to be born anew. And the fire of the furnace and the base is where it all starts. And so, to me, this is absolutely self-explanatory. Let's see what they say about it. Leaf 26. This page, which concludes that part of the Hermetic manuscript bearing the symbols of the secret work, contains a number of emblems not directly correlated. At the top is the head of the king, the most common of alchemical figures. To the right of the king is an alchemical vessel, designated the Hermetic seal. Below is the head of a ferocious bird, here designated a griffin. To the left of the king is a headless figure, elevating a sun or spiritual face. The figure is in the world, which must be headless, since its spiritual and rational part is not material and consequently is invisible. Below is a circle, unaccompanied by descriptive matter. Directly under the king's head is a vase of flowers, in which rises the golden plant of the philosophers. And at the bottom of the page is additional alchemical equipment, this also being termed a Hermetic seal. That is interesting, and next up we will be doing the chemical marriage. You can just barely see it there, but that will be coming very soon. And that's where we're going to wrap this one up. That was very interesting. Now, alchemy as a allegory for enlightenment, I have zero problems buying it, right? I feel like I have outlined here why, right? It does absolutely align with what I already know to be true. I say that knowing full well that people will doubt it. That's fine. You don't have to believe me. I'm not here for that. I'm here to tell you, not to convince you. There is truth here. Now, whether there is more than one truth here, I can't tell you. I don't have the key of alchemy yet. I have not done the physical processes. But it started off telling you that this was not about the physical processes. This was about mental processes. This is about the alchemy of the soul, the transformation of the spirit, the inclination of humanity to be bad means that you have to overcome it. And part of that overcoming process we have outlined here today. I have spent a significant amount of time helping you figure out how you individually are stacked. That's what I call it, right? The way that the cognitive functions work within you, I call it the stack. Because you use all 8 of them at all points in life to varying degrees of effectiveness, right? You may be using your base, but you're probably not using it correctly. You have to directly work at that. You have to intend to make that better in order for it to get better. I always talk about starting at the base because when you start at the base, the things that you strengthen there automatically start strengthening the things up the stack. And the higher you can work in your stack, the more stable you become in your life. And that is, I can't say fact. I can't say that because it has not been extensively tested. But it has worked for me. It has worked for other people in my life. It has worked for random people on the internet. People have seen this and been like, oh wow, that is a life-changing revelation of things. But it ain't a whole lot of people. Once again, this path is not for everybody. It is open to anybody, but most people do not have what it takes to walk this path. I don't know how to tell you that in any other words. You may, but most likely you don't. Most likely you don't have the dedication to pray, fast, and meditate as it is required, right? You cannot get by with just one of those. You cannot get by with just 2 of those. It takes all 3 working together to get where you need to be. You have to be intentional and believe that it is a true thing. If you don't believe that it is true and you're doing the motions without the actual investment of your energy, it is going to do nothing for you. The moving of the energies, that is a practice that takes time. I have been working on that for probably close to 30 years now. That doesn't mean that I was correct when I began, right? The path I was put on way back in boot camp is completely different than the processes that I use now. But it was a good start, right? That was coming from Wicca, and Wicca's not quite right any more than any of the control systems are quite right. I am trying to be open and clear and honest about all of these steps and how much it is absolutely required for you to put in the work. I can't just tell you and give you the path. I can tell you where the path is, and you have to go and seek it yourself. I have a whole playlist dedicated to just that, to showing where the path lies. And it may not be great, right? When I started this channel, I was not where I am now. And so some of those probably need to be reworked. They're a little bit choppy. They're a little bit slow. Some of them don't have all of the information because I didn't have all of the information when I started. But you can walk them. There is no untruth in there. There is no guide you down the wrong path in there. Some of the things that I put in there can be extrapolated upon, and that is what I am doing nowadays. I am getting more into how you can do this for yourself. This, to me, today, right, the last 2 chapters on alchemy has been kind of, whatever. This one right here contains truth. There is a path in this, and while I do not have the key necessarily that they had, I do have a key that fits this lock. I am giving you that key. I have it. Go get it. Do this. Take it for yourself. It changes your entire life. I promise you that. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a somewhat complicated series of topics. If you agree or disagree, leave it down below. Let me know. If it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. And if you like what I'm doing over here, give me all the good things. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Hit me with that super thanks because I am not a communist. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt State. Peace.